Welcome to the deep dive. You know, we often talk about these unseen digital layers, the ones working constantly to protect our sensitive information. But there's also this constant threat, always evolving, and it hits everyone, even the big players. It really shows that cybersecurity is just this never-ending vigilant effort. So today, we're digging into a specific case, a pretty significant cybersecurity incident involving Infosys McCamish Systems LLC. They're a U.S.-based subsidiary of the huge Indian IT company Infosys Ltd. And right off the bat, there's a financial consequence here, a civil penalty of 1.04 crore, which translates to about $125,000 U.S. And the authority imposing this, that's New York Department of Financial Services, the NYDFS. Now, that's important because the NYDFS, well, they're known for being really proactive, pretty stringent on cybersecurity globally. They often has the bar, you know?
They really do. Their involvement signals something significant. It's not just another fine.
Exactly. So the event itself was a ransomware attack back in 2020. And the scale of the potential impact was, well, it was massive. Over 5 million consumer records affected. Think about that. And clients involved included a major life insurance company. So really sensitive stuff.
Absolutely.
So our mission today is to kind of unpack this. We're going to look at what the regulators say went wrong, what protocols were missed, and why this incident actually matters beyond just the penalty amount. Okay, so let's get into the details.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here, I think, is how these seemingly technical slip-ups can just balloon outwards.
Yeah.
The implications go way beyond the initial hack itself. This case, it really reflects, I believe, a bigger shift in how regulators are thinking about cybersecurity.
Big shift. How?
Well, it's moving away from just punishing the actual damage, after the fact.
Yeah.
It's becoming more about penalizing the potential for harm. The lack of preparedness itself is becoming the liability.
Ah, I see. So it's not just did data get misused, but were you properly locked down in the first place?
Exactly. That's the crucial change. Your readiness, or lack of it, now carries its own weight, regardless of whether the worst actually happened in that specific instance.
That's a really interesting point. Okay, so with that regulatory pressure in mind, what were the specific things the NYDFS called out? What did Infosys McCamish actually fail to do, according to them?
Well, the NYDFS pointed to a couple of key failures. First, they didn't report the incident promptly. That's a big regulatory checkbox you have to hit.
Right. Timely disclosure is always critical.
Always. And second, just as important, they hadn't maintained adequate cybersecurity protocols, things specifically required by New York's own cybersecurity regulation. So it's about the response, yes, but also very much about the state of their defenses before the attack hit.
Okay. Inadequate protocols. For a company like Infosys, what does that actually mean in practice? What specifics did the regulators highlight? Was it something really complex or?
No, actually, it was surprisingly fundamental.
Yeah.
They pointed to a failure to implement multi-factor authentication.
You mean like the code from your phone, that kind of thing?
Exactly that. That extra security layer beyond just a password. And also untimely patch management.
So just not keeping their software updated quickly enough.
Precisely. Not fixing known security holes promptly. And, I mean, these aren't exotic defenses we're talking about.
No, they're really not.
They're the basics. It's like locking your front door and making sure the windows aren't broken.
Yeah.
It's that fundamental.
Wow. Okay, that's quite striking. MFA and patching, it almost sounds too simple for such a large operation.
It does, doesn't it?
And these kinds of gaps, I mean, this incident was ransomware, but are these vulnerabilities, these unlocked doors, so to speak, are they common entry points for other types of attacks too?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Ransomware grabs the headlines, sure, but these same weaknesses, unpatched systems, weak authentication, they're gateways for all sorts of things. Data theft, corporate espionage, you name it. This Infosys case isn't some weird outlier. It's a pretty stark reminder of the basic digital hygiene that so many organizations, frankly, still struggle with.
Yeah.
Even with all the known risks out there. It's like having a super strong vault door, but, forgetting to install the lock mechanism itself.
That's a great analogy, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's eye-opening. A company this size, missing fundamentals, gets hit with a fine, even without confirmed data misuse.
Right.
It really makes you think. It feels like the penalty is less about the specific damage caused in this instance and more about the failure to have those basic defenses in place, that potential for harm you mentioned.
That's exactly how regulators are increasingly viewing it.
Did Infosys, in their response, sort of acknowledge that regulatory shift, or was it more of a standard "we're fixing it" statement?
Well, Infosys stated publicly that they cooperated fully with the NYDFS investigation, and they said they've since enhanced their cybersecurity infrastructure. They mention specific things like upgrading authentication systems, putting in real-time threat monitoring, meeting those regulatory standards.
Okay.
So, the public statement is about compliance and fixing things, naturally. But the fine itself and the broader context definitely points towards this emphasis on proactive prevention, on addressing the potential for harm.
Right. So, okay, let's try to wrap this up and pull out the key takeaways. We've gone pretty deep here. The critical lessons from this Infosys McCamish case seem clear. The NYDFS called out, specifically, failing to report promptly, having inadequate security protocols overall, missing multi-factor authentication, and being slow on patch management. And for you listening, this isn't just about one company. It's really a reminder, isn't it, that even systems you trust with your data might have these, well, fundamental vulnerabilities.
It really is. And connecting this specific case to the wider industry picture, this NYDFS action, it just highlights their ongoing focus on strict cybersecurity enforcement, especially with digital threats constantly rising against financial institutions and all the tech providers they rely on, like Infosys McCamish.
So it's a signal to the whole sector.
Absolutely. Cyber experts definitely see this as let's say, a wake-up call for any tech service provider handling sensitive financial data.
Right.
It really pushes compliance with data protection rules way up the priority list. It has to become, a major operational priority embedded in everything they do, not just an IT issue.
Right. Not just an afterthought. Okay, so here's maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. The regulators themselves noted there were no consumer complaints tied to this. No confirmed data misuse found in this specific case.
That's correct.
Yet the fine was still substantial. So what does that tell us? What does it say about how responsibility and preparedness are being defined now? It seems like the potential risk, just the possibility of harm because the defenses weren't adequate, now carries its own serious consequences, even if the worst didn't happen this time.
Yeah, it really does raise an important question, doesn't it? How do companies strike that balance? The balance between, say, innovation and moving fast, and this fundamental duty of care they have for your data. Because in a world where new threats pop up constantly, the proactive steps, the things you do before anything happens, they're becoming just as vital, maybe even more so, than how you clean up afterwards.
So prevention is truly becoming paramount.
Exactly. It's not enough anymore to just be good at responding to a breach. You have to be demonstrably excellent at stopping it from happening in the first place.